That's right. It is orange and blue today. It is Cecil Lammey. It is Andrew Mason. It's canned rock music. And waiting for Jarrett Stidham. Was it Judge Smalls? Mace. We're waiting.
That's it. Judge Smalls.
Smalls.
Well, we're waiting.
We're waiting.
We're waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Jarrett Stidham has been waiting. He's been waiting a little under 12 months to start again after he waited nearly 4 seasons to make his first NFL starts back-to-back last year for the Raiders. Now he waited 11 months and some change, and now he gets another shot.
He gets a shot. And Mace, what should fans expect from Jarrett Stidham this week?
Well, if it looks like his first start last year, expect some dynamic play. I would say this. I would expect from Stidham in the Sean Payton offense, expect more intermediate shots down the middle. I think it's going to look more like a typical Sean Payton attack than we have seen all year long. It'll be fascinating, I think, when we see the passing spray chart to see where Stidham is in terms of where he's placing his throws compared to where Russell Wilson has been over the course of the year. And I think part of these next 2 weeks is sort of figuring out, okay, what's functionally wrong here? Was it the quarterback? Is it something else that's going askew? So you change out the quarterback. You know, Sean Payton talks about getting a spark, and we'll find out. The other one thing I will counsel against is this. Stidham doesn't have a good feel for the rush historically, as Russell Wilson does. And so there may be some difficulty if the Chargers choose to blitz and put a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the plan for them going in with limited film on this guy. But as we saw with the Chiefs last year, you can pressure him. He doesn't throw his pretty deep ball as Russell Wilson does, but he does play YOLO ball, Mace. So will we see a little bit of Taylor Heineke, a little bit of Sam Howell, throw it up and see what happens?
A little bit. I mean, we saw some of that with Russell Wilson when he's throwing to Courtland Sutton, although your odds are pretty good of living more than once if you're trying it to Courtland Sutton, right? So I'd say we'll see more of that in the intermediate down the middle areas of the field. I wonder if he's going to take some chances with Lucas Kroll, for example. By the way, Greg Dulcich still not back on the practice field. I think it's fair to not expect Greg Dulcich back this season. So Lucas Kroll is the guy that you're going to try intermediate range down the field from the tight end position if you want to make some plays.
Yeah, make some plays, see what Jarrett Stidham can do. But Mace, is it more Stidham and his ability to run Sean Payton's offense, or is Sean Payton flexing his muscles on Sunday in a way?
That's a good question. I think he's going to run his offense. So is that flexing his muscles?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. It's going to look more typical of a Sean Payton offense in terms of how the passes are being distributed, what they're trying to do. And I would also say this, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about Stidham with a particularly high yardage count. I mean, they've basically taken the ball away from Russell Wilson, right? They've taken it out of his hands quite a bit. When they put it in his hands, it's been when they've been in some desperate situations, like in the fourth quarter when they were behind by 16 points on Sunday night. So I think we'll see the Broncos come out and attack through the air. I don't think we're going to see them. I don't think we're going to see them try to keep it on the ground, play conservatively. I think they're going to open it up in this game, partially because it's what Sean Payton wants to do, partially because this Chargers defense is really banged up.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying 250 and 3 touchdowns. Do you like that number?
Ooh, I think it's going to be 300.
300?
I think we're going to see a 300-yard day from Jarrett Stidham. He had a 300-yard day his first start last season when the Raiders, where he was playing, went against the 49ers. 49ers at the time had the best defense in football, and he carved them up. It's probably a good time to roll some beautiful beam footage of Mike McGlinchey talking about Jarrett Stidham, because McGlinchey, of course, was on the other side for the 49ers, watching Stidham carve up a pretty dominant defense last New Year's Day?
Jarrett's a great player. He's obviously a true professional. He's been that way all year. He's one of the first people in the building, one of the last out, no matter what his role has been, and certainly can sling the pill. And he's done a great job with that. Obviously, I was on the other side of one of his performances last year when he almost took us by storm there. We had 49ers had the number one defense in the league last year, and he ran through us like crazy. So this guy, I think he's going to do great things, and I'm so excited for him and the opportunity that he's getting, and he's going to do great for us.
I mean, Glynchy's not one to fill us full of crap. He does know how to be the mayor, right?
Yeah.
But he also, if he didn't think Stidham would play or could play, he wouldn't say that.
Yeah, and now, admittedly, he's got the first-hand experience of seeing Stidham look really good. By far the best that Stidham has looked. What happened the following week against the Raiders, against the Chiefs, in Las Vegas, they cranked up the pass rush. Stidham was sacked 6 times. It's interesting to look at these two games here because it would not surprise me at all if these two games, in terms of Stidham's performance, look very similar to the 2 games that he had last year, where the first start, he lights it up. The second start, maybe it's going to be a rougher go, in part because in week 18, you're going to have a Las Vegas defense that, unless they hit the skids and have a bunch of injuries this coming weekend, that Vegas defense is peaking right now and will attack Jarrett Stidham. I expect that the Broncos may feel really good about Stidham after this game against the Chargers. It may be a different feeling after the Raider game if they crank up the pressure as I expect them to, and Max Crosby in particular is able to make some plays.
Mace, as one who's known to overreact, I'm not going to overreact for Stidham because I think exactly what you said happens. He's going to ball out against the Chargers. Raiders are going to make him look more human, and you're going to have a nice backup. That's what Jarrett Stidham is.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine. Now, maybe it's a situation where if the Broncos decide not to go quarterback early, maybe we're talking about a situation in next year where they bring in a free agent and it's a competition. Let's say it's a Jameis Winston, Jarrett Stidham competition. Or maybe even a Jimmy Garoppolo, Jarrett Stidham competition. If the Broncos bring him in, if the Vegas Raiders move on from Garoppolo. In either case, I would expect Stidham to probably lose those competitions. With Jameis Winston, we've seen that he can execute the Sean Payton offense at a pretty high level, as he did in New Orleans, even though that was 3 years ago, and he's had the ACL injury since then. And Jimmy Garoppolo, if we're talking about intermediate passes, Jimmy G's your dude, right? So he may be better suited to run this offense than a lot of quarterbacks, maybe including Jarrett Stidham.
Isn't he the king of intermediate passes?
Yes.
If there's one, there's Jimmy G. Now, I'm going to ask you something. I've actually never considered this, Mace, but you and I have watched a lot of football, and Tommy's going back over our tweets from the summer and like, oh my God, there's trouble. And Tommy said, like, look at Mace's tweets from training camp. Yeah, we remember training camp. Jarrett Stidham wasn't good.
Yeah.
Is he a gamer? Do you like
to
the
some
term
degree,
gamer?
but like he was a game. You could say, oh, gamer against the 49ers. Then watch what happened the following game against the Chiefs, right? I mean, I think he's a gamer, but I think there are certain things about him, particularly how he handles pressure, that are not necessarily going to favor him in a game situation. That's what I'm concerned about. Now, again, this is a Chargers defense that's banged up. They added Kenneth Murray to their injury list this week. He was limited yesterday, didn't practice today. You're going to face a defense that's going to have kind of one hand tied behind its back personnel-wise. So there are going to be some opportunities in this game, but that's why I think it's important after this game to maybe not to get too excited about Stidham. I think the story of this game is, if this looks like the Sean Payton offense and Stidham is reasonably effective and the Broncos offense is reasonably effective, then it's very much like you said, a flex. See? Sean Payton, like, see? This is how it's supposed to look, right? Because here's the thing. Moving on from Russell Wilson means you're not going to be replacing him with a quarterback at the top of the deck, right? You're not even talking about even like a $20 million a year quarterback in all likelihood. You're talking about a quarterback who is either a backup trying to get back to being a starter or a quarterback with some injury concerns. So in other words, Jameis Winston be the first category, Jimmy Garoppolo be the second category, right? And if you're going to have another veteran in there, it's going to be a dumpster dive. Either that, it's going to be a rookie that you bring in somewhere in the middle of the first round. You're not going to, if the Vikings let go of Kirk Cousins is not going to be a Bronco. Because in terms of the dead money the Broncos are going to be facing the next couple of years, it's not something they can absorb. I mean, you really start parsing the situation here. The Broncos are in a tough spot. The one thing that they're going to need to get reasonably good production in Sean Payton's system from a quarterback who is relatively cost controlled.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We'll be here all offseason, of course, on Orange and Blue today. Mace, what do you expect from Jerry Jeudy? Because I think it's going to be an air show. I think Brandon Johnson, who has good chemistry with Jarrett Stidham, could be productive. I think Jerry Jeudy, is he okay today? He was sick yesterday. A little cold, right? A little fever or something. Anyway.
He was out there. He's practiced.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he practiced. He spoke
with
us yesterday.
Yeah, what do you think he'll do? We've got the beautiful bean footage of Jerry Jeudy, subdued Jerry Jeudy, because he was a little bit under the weather. Yeah. But let's hear what Jerry says about Jarrett Stidham, and then we can talk about expectations, which might be larger than people think. Here's Jerry Jeudy.
He a great passer. He throw a pretty ball. Great at anticipating routes. He do it all as a quarterback. What you need from a quarterback, he does it all.
Key part of that phrase, Cecil, great at anticipating routes. We've talked about this before. The moment where Jerry Jeudy looked the most promising was in the 2021 offseason training camp, and then the first half of that initial game against the New York Giants in the regular season that year when Teddy Bridgewater was throwing him the ball. What does Bridgewater do? He anticipates the breaks on routes. He's throwing to a spot, right? Some of the best plays that he and Jeudy had in practice, the ball is out before Judy's making his break. He's anticipating the break. Russell Wilson isn't that kind of placement passer. Jarrett Stidham, we've seen flashes of it. Certainly more than we've seen from Russell Wilson. So for this particular player, this particular type of receiver, you'd have to say that Jarrett Stidham's a better fit. I expect Jerry Jeudy's best game on Sunday, at least his best game this season.
Yeah, and that means 100 yards. And if you've got Jarrett at 300, I got him at 250. 100 of it's Jerry.
Yeah.
He said it, anticipate. And Russ was more of a see it, throw it guy, which is fine. He still throws a beautiful deep pass. Jarrett does not throw with the same trajectory, arc, not Jeff Blake arc, right? Rainbow in the dark type thing. Yeah, way out the picture. But Jarrett Stidham does throw you open better than Russell Wilson throws you open.
And he's going to try to squeeze it in some windows as well. So that favors a receiver who's getting open from route running. This will be interesting to see the dispersal of targets in this game. Maybe fewer for Courtland Sutton. Sutton's working his way back from the concussion, by the way. When we were walking out to the practice field, we saw him doing some stuff on his own. So it seems like he is progressing well through the protocol. But I think what we see from Jarrett Stidham strength-wise, I think it's going to be more, you mentioned Brandon Johnson, more Brandon Johnson and Jerry Jeudy in this game than Courtland Sutton. Maybe there's going to be a 9-ball to Sutton, but I think this is going to be a rhythm and timing game. It's gonna look different than we've seen for most of the year. We saw elements. I mean, to say this for Sean Payton, he tried it with Russell Wilson early. Remember in the season? They did try.
They were 1-5.
Yes,
but he tried.
And I'd say really they were 1-4 because that Kansas City game when they lost 19-8, that was the game where tactically they pulled it back, right? And turned out they were, despite looking very clunky, turned out they were one score behind with 7 minutes with 6-7 minutes to go, right? And that in retrospect counted as going in the right direction. And then, of course, against Green Bay and Kansas City and Buffalo and all the games that followed, we saw the continued change of emphasis. So I'd say really they were 1-4 trying it with Russell Wilson doing a lot of Sean Payton things. And then you do the math on that. They're 1-4 doing it one way. They're 6-4 doing it the other. And what's the bottom line here? It's about getting the dubs. It's about getting the dubs. And but also Payton does have a vision. How often does Sean Payton talk about vision for players? He mentions that a lot, right?
A lot.
It's often worth asking him about in regards to a player because it's something that kind of speaks to his language. Well, he's got a vision for how the offense is supposed to work as well. And that vision, they tried it early in the season, and they were sitting in a bad spot, and they were turning over the football a lot. Then they throttled it back. The turnovers went away. They got takeaways on the defensive side. They won some games. You get to December, you're still throttling it back, but you have a bunch of turnovers, right? And there we are. That's how we got to this point where where I don't even want to.
This is where we're at, Mace.
Yeah,
this is where we're at.
Can I say something big picture here that is going to be ouchy, perhaps for Broncos country?
Okay.
There is a very good chance that next year, going into the season, that almost every publication is going to pick this team to finish last in the AFC West. And that's going to be because of the limitations on what they can do roster-wise when you've got $35.4 million this year, $49.6 million next year of dead money tied up in the quarterback. They're going to have to make some moves to get into compliance. There's going to be probably a cut or two that you may not want to make, and you're not going to have the resources to get out of it unless you really go full credit card here and get yourself in a really bad cap situation going forward, which the Saints have done in the past. But yeah, I think I'd be surprised if there are a lot of good expectations for the Broncos going into next year, especially if it's Jarrett Stidham or Jameis Winston or Jimmy Garoppolo. That choice is not going to inspire many people outside of of Denver to think highly of this team's chances.
Yeah, it's something to watch, something to monitor. As Orange and Blue today wraps up, Mace, fans are concerned that you're warm enough. So
I'm fine.
You have no gloves today.
Look,
it's cold when you get the gloves.
It's Colorado, right? I mean, I think the temperature's in the low 40s today. I've got a pretty thick little sweatshirt, quarter zip sweater type thing on. I'm really comfortable. Like I'm fine. It's a beautiful day out here. The sun is shining. It's shining right in my face.
You had your sunglasses on yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I left them inside. I screwed up today, but it was too late to go back.
Okay.
So
it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, no, I'm loving it. I'm loving it out here. Charlotte's somewhere where Charlotte's way over in that direction.
I thought she was making a snow angel or something behind you.
No, she's putting her footprints all over the green space over here. This is like a dirt lot usually.
Right.
Where people park for training camp. That's where she's hanging out. I'm in the asphalt area. You can see the field house behind me. By the way, this shot was Charlotte's idea. She wanted to get the Broncos logo in the background. She wanted a good backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give her credit for this. I just wish I had worn my transition so I could
we need to put her on the payroll, Mace. She's telling you to smile more. She's giving you camera shots. Like she's like on-site producer.
She's getting paid. We've worked out a payment schedule. I'm not. This isn't free labor. Although it's funny now, she's an assistant, but she is, somewhere over there. She's like, okay, we're good.
We're good. You guys are set up. Let's go.
Yeah. You guys are set up. You're rolling. It's good. The connection's been good. Knock on whatever I can find out here. I mean, honestly, I feel like the connection's been better doing this thing outside of Broncos headquarters the last couple of days than sometimes it is in my own home.
Yeah. Well, hey, we
Oh,
work through it, baby. We work through it.
I
Super
know.
quick.
I know.
I got to pick your brain about
Mhm.
what we've learned about Russell Wilson. Diana Rossini reports, Troy Rank backing it up, all these sorts of things. You and I have heard plenty. Say what you want, Mace, but like Russell Wilson was like a week to week quarterback for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Very odd. I do not think the Broncos conducted business in the way that they should conduct business. I know Russell Wilson's well paid, whatever. Forget that guy or whatever fans want to say. I just don't like the way this was set up with the threat of, hey, you don't take away your injury clause, we're going to bench you.
Mhm.
And they didn't until now. But that threat was there, since that Chiefs game, right?
Yeah, they won a couple of games, and then it was okay. Threatened to sit you if you don't accept this. And look, that may put the Broncos in a little bit of a problematic position with the NFLPA. But at the same time, clauses are renegotiated all the time, right? Look, we saw it late last year with Derek Carr. Raiders told him go home because they didn't want to risk him getting hurt and risk a clause kicking in. So I'm more it wasn't a pleasant way of going about it, but it is also part of the business. Now, that being said, George Paton, the general manager, he's kind of doing the dirty work here, right? But at the same time, Payton did agree at the Broncos' end to the clauses that are in this contract. Now, you look back, you look back on it, and there are so many mistakes made. But you could say in some ways that George Paton trying to get Russell Wilson to take this was trying to wriggle out of something that he was a part of putting into the contract, right? That he agreed to. Ultimately, he agreed to.
Yep.
By the way, none of this bodes well for George Paton.
Right.
I think I'd be surprised if he's still the general manager in 6 months.
What about in a couple of weeks?
That's a good question. I haven't gotten a real good feel for it yet. I've heard some different things about whether it could be 6 months or whether it could happen right after the season. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know for certain one way or the other because I don't. It's that part's very murky right now.
Okay.
So
we will be here for you when and if that happens.
By the way, I've noticed this with the sun. As the sun has dropped further over the horizon, you see, that's my camera.
Your iPhone, yeah.
That's my camera with the shadow there. It's almost like another microphone. Like, hi, yeah. Talking into this mic here,
to that,
talking into the shadow mic there.
Yeah. People love your microphone, man. Your microphone's
now it's like a press conference. It's like I got 2 mics up there, right?
Right. Hello, I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Thank you, Marshawn.
Yeah, that's my dude. This is my son. All right. Mason, anything else? We got it all. I mean, Nick Benito, update, anything there?
He's practiced second straight day. Looks good to go. We'll see about Baron Browning tomorrow. Did not see Baron Browning working out with Courtland Sutton when we walked by that area of the field before practice. So we'll see. They may be on different paths, and maybe we see Courtland Sutton on Sunday, but not Baron Browning. I think we'll get a better read on that tomorrow.
Okay. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. It's orange and blue today, and OBT is the BFD. Make us talk about the Broncos. Help us grow our YouTube channel by liking this video. Comment down below. If you've commented in the chat room, then make sure to comment below too, please. It helps the YouTube algorithm, puts us in front of more Broncos fans. OBT is the BFD. We want to spread the joy. So like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He's Mace. I'm Cease. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty,